The Supreme Court has now instructed the National Testing Agency or the NTA to provide information on beneficiaries or candidates who benefited from the NEET-UG 2024 paper leak. The Education Ministry and the NTA have had now multiple rounds of meetings before the July 11th Supreme Court hearing. A closed session meeting of the officials was conducted late on Tuesday night to discuss potential counselling choices and modalities. The information will also be discussed with Supreme Court on 11th of July. Now, earlier the Supreme Court uploaded the order passed in the NEET-UG 2024 petitions on official website. The court order states that in a situation where the breach is in the sanctity of the examination, it affects the entirety of the process, it is not possible to segregate those who are beneficiaries of the wrongdoing from others. A retest is likely to be the most appropriate course of action. On the contrary, where the breach is confined to specific areas or centers and it is possible to identify those who are the beneficiaries of the wrongdoing, it may not be appropriate to order a retest, particularly in an examination which has been conducted on such a massive scale and which involves over 23 lakh students. The next hearing in the Supreme Court is scheduled for 11th of July. What can you expect on July 11th? Well, the government is expected to submit a report on 11th of July stating that the leak accounted to just an area and was not systemic or widespread in any way. Additionally, the NTA will submit a disclosure about the modality that will be followed for the 1,563 students who received grace marks. Now, during the July 11th hearing, it is also expected that the report will be submitted and will mention actions taken by the NTA to identify leaks, the beneficiary of the leak, and the action taken by NTA to identify the location and the cities where the leak really occurred, and the procedure that was followed to identify the beneficiaries. Now, Supreme Court began hearing several petitions and pleas related to the medical entrance exam of the NEET-UG 2024 controversy on Monday, seeking a direction to conduct it afresh. A bench that comprises Chief Justice DY Chandrachud, Justices J B Pardiwala and Manoj Misra will be hearing and continues to hear those 38 odd petitions asking for the NEET-UG examination to be reconducted. Whether that will happen or not, we don't know. But let's quickly discuss where the NEET-UG examinations stand, what is the court order up until now, and what can be expected on 11th of July. Joining us on the show is Kapil Gupta, is the founder of neetprep.com. Also with us is Dr. Rishiraj Sinha, National General Secretary, FIMA. Also on the show is Amar Saini. He's a petitioner for Aryan Tyagi, who is one of the NEET aspirants and is hoping that NEET examination will be reconducted. Before I go to anyone, I want to go to you first, Amar. Run us through what really happened in the court and how hopeful are you that REET will be reconducted?
The Supreme Court, we were very sure that the leakages were there, breakages were there at 5 a.m. on 5th of May when the exam was conducted. So we were with the evidences that even in the FIR that was lodged in Patna, wherein the disclosure statement was clearly stating that the NEET examination paper was leaked early in the morning at around 5 a.m. and the papers were circulated on the electronic media, that is Telegram channel. And several students were grouped together and they were kept at a single place wherein they were memorized the questions. Those were to be supposed to come in the examination, and the fact was that those questions that were given to them in the early morning were there in the question papers that was given to them in the examination. Okay. So we were very confident that the leakages were there, breaches were there, and today also when I was even urging the Honorable CJI that the CBI, which is investigating 5 FIRs lodged across India, wherein the exact position in the form of disclosure statement and other evidences can be collected by the CBI and the status report can be filed before the Honorable Supreme Court. Because in one of the judgment in 2015, when the dental medical UG examination was reconducted, the base was the investigating agency wherein several disclosure statements of the persons of the accused were cited in that judgment, which I quoted before the Honorable Supreme Court. And relying on this said judgment, the examination in 2015, which is one of the pivotal judgment which we are relying in the Supreme Court, the entire examination was directed to be held. So today also, tomorrow also, I will be relying on that judgment. Along with that judgment, I will also be relying upon one of the judgment that is that was passed late 1996 in the case of Hanuman Prasad, wherein it was also there when there is minor breach and leakages was there, the entire examination sanctity of the examination is breached, then there is no other option except to reconduct the examination.
Okay.
So based on the evidences that we are having, and we are supposed to have some of the report, and the NT was also directed to produce to answer some of the questions, queries that was directed by the Honorable CJI to them. Still, we haven't received the counter affidavit, but that was supposed to be given to us by 5 p.m. today. But I'm still waiting for that counter affidavit so that I can argue, I can base my arguments on the basis of the investigation conducted by the CBI. On the basis of that, I would be in a better footing even to assail the examination, because I am very sure the breach is at a larger level, as widespread and across the entire country, So
All right.
these are the cases.
Okay, before I move on, a quick question for you, Mr. Seni. You were suggesting that you're supposed to be hearing from CBI as of this evening. You haven't really heard from them. It's 5:07 on the clock. As of tomorrow, it's a crucial hearing. What are your arguments going to be? What are they going to be around? Because we do know that NTA and the government maintains that this wasn't really a systemic problem. This was a very focused issue. A couple of students, perhaps in a local area or an examination center, were able to get that paper in advance. And so therefore, there is no need to reconduct the examination. What are your arguments going to be around?
That was the issue that was even considered by the Honorable Supreme Court and the CGI, wherein it was considered that if the leakages at particular minuscule sections of the society, or even if a single center, that if not affecting the entire sanctity of the examination, then it would be difficult to conduct the entire examination afresh. But the question is that was also in the mind of the Honorable Court, that if the breakages and the leakages are at a larger level involving the electronic devices and the electronic media, devices, then it would be at a large scale. And that was that exactly happened in one of the case that was decided late by the Honorable Supreme Court in 2015, wherein the leakages was at a widespread. And now the question is that, as it was in the mind of the Honorable Court, that if 24 lakh students are gonna affected, there has to be a solid case for reconducting of the examination. And that is the point we need to deal with tomorrow in the arguments, because we are supposed to show the Honorable Court, as was sought even yesterday, that Honorable Court would be in a position and would be asking us what material do we have on the basis of which we are saying that the entire examination is to be reconducted. So now the question is that we have 2-3 FIRs, wherein in the disclosure statement itself, if you will read the Patna FIR, if you allow me to read some of the portion that is there in the FIR.
Absolutely, I will allow you to, and we'll delve deeper into this issue. Let me also get in other panelists who are joining us on the show. Kapil Gupta. Kapil, from your point of view, you've heard what happened in the court yesterday. That order is finally out. I think the court will now have to determine the extent of the leak. The NTA will also have to inform the court on whether it has been able to identify the beneficiaries of that paper leak. It's not going to be an easy job.
And I love the word beneficiaries, by the way. So it is not going to be easy. That lies at the core of the problem. Whether beneficiaries or people who cheated is a small number. As NTA has said in one of its previous communications, that there have been isolated cases of cheating/impersonation, or is it a case of mass leak? But clearly, this is the heart of the problem, and whether this can be done or not. In fact, from 4th June till now, the exam result came on 4th June. The education minister was in place, sworn in, assumed office around 7th of June. From that point to where we are today, 11th July, this is something which needed to be identified. This is what Chief Justice is also asking. I'm not sure how easy it is going to be, but if this thing can be identified, then there would not be any dispute between Those who want need to happen again, and those who don't want need to happen again. No one is in disagreement about the fact that people who have cheated should not get an opportunity to become a doctor in this country. That lies at the heart of the problem, and I am not confident at all whether what NTA is going to present tomorrow, it can easily be a case of omission if you did not do a good job trying to find out who these people are, whether they contributed to a significant jump in cutoff that has happened this year. You can very well say no one exists, but have they done a reasonable job trying to find uh, supposedly a large number of these people who have gotten in? I'm not sure about that.
Absolutely. It's going to be a tough job, whether it's a matter of omission, whether it's a matter of acceptance. It is very difficult to identify whether the leak was on a minuscule level. And come to think of it, any leak on any social media platform takes only hours and minutes to spread like a wildfire. It's going to be a test for NTA. It's also going to be a test for the court to determine the fate of those 14 lakh odd students who sat for that very important medical examination. The Supreme Court has now instructed the National Testing Agency to provide information on all the beneficiaries and the candidates who benefited from the NEET-UG paper leak, the extent of the paper leak, and whether the sanctity of the exam was compromised as a result of that paper leak. The order is finally out on the Supreme Court website. The crucial hearing will be continuing tomorrow, and we are trying to discuss and understand the modalities of what happened in the court and what is to be expected from the court tomorrow. On the show with us is Dr. Rishiraj Sinha, is the National General Secretary for FIMA. Dr. Sinha, you must have been keeping a tabs on what's really happening as far as the NEET-UG examination is concerned. Taking away from what happened in the court yesterday, and as we were discussing, it's going to be a crucial test for NTA to either come out and admit that there was a paper leak. We know that there was a paper leak. Supreme Court has admitted that there's a paper leak. So the sanctity seemed to have already been compromised. But to what extent? That would be discussed tomorrow, and that will determine the course of those, future course of those 14 lakh students who really appeared for that exam. In your assessment, from having spoken to students out there, what are their expectations largely? Are they hoping to really sit down for that exam again? Because it's going to be tough, not only for students who really did not make it, but also for students who managed to score well.
Yeah, ma'am. I am very thankful for inviting me on the show. Ma'am, I would like to correct that there is a student of around 24 lakhs, not 14 lakhs. And number second, that total 24 lakh student has been appeared, not 14 lakhs. And number second, that we should never forget that this exam will be the decision for 24 lakh students, not some thousands of students. And after this exam, the concerned students will be becoming a doctor who will be saving a life of a patient. So at this point of time, we should not play any sort of examination. If there is any breach of the sanctity of the examination, the exam should be conducted again. And just keeping in view the point of the government, as well as the Honorable Supreme Court of India, because there are many, the leaks has been happened. It has been verified by the court. But we have to identify, the court has already told that it should be identified at up to how much level the leaks has been happened and how much it has affected. Because overall, there has been a matter of 24 lakh students. It's not some thousands or some lakhs. Okay. So we have to be very precise, and the role of the government should be in the harmony and in the benefit of the students who will be appearing again if government give chances.
All right.
Because it's very difficult to see that how much students were benefited, because I don't know how it will be seen by the government or by the court. But yes, if there has been any leak or any sanctity breach of the examination, it should be conducted again. I know it will be very difficult to conduct because I am myself a doctor. I know that it's very difficult to find a center, to find a date for the examination purpose. But yes, for the bright future of the students, we should not play any sort of role in the because that students will be a doctor.
Absolutely. I'll come to you.
Will be treating.
Absolutely, absolutely. One need not play with the lives of those 24 lakh odd students. I stand corrected there, Dr. Sinha. Latest that we are hearing on the matter is that NTA has now submitted its affidavit in the court. NTA says that the leak was only localized and exam should not be cancelled. NTA further says that the sanctity of the exam has therefore been maintained. Let me quickly get in Advocate Amar Saini back on the show. Mr. Saini, this is the petition that we were hoping to read. This is the affidavit we were hoping to get. We now know that NTA has maintained that the leak was in fact local. How do they really arrive at this? What was the modality of arriving at this conclusion? We don't know. Perhaps we'll get to know tomorrow. Your first reaction, please.
Actually, I haven't got the copy of the affidavit that NTA has submitted as per the directions of the Honorable Court. But the thing is that since beginning, the NTA's defense in the court and the outside court at the government level is that the leakage is at the local level. But thankfully, please see the FIR. That was the FIR lodged in Patna, wherein it was clear-cut, if you will allow me to read the 2-3 lines, so wherein even students and the disclosure statement says that they were given the papers at 5 o'clock in the morning and the examination paper was circulated on this Telegram channel. So now if you see where the Telegram channel, electronic devices and the media are involved, so how can that be localized? So that argument taken by the NTA doesn't stand anywhere because that can't be said. When the papers are in the public domain, social media, how can that be localized leakages? So that is the argument that will be considered before the Honorable Court, and I don't think so. This is a leakage at the local level because 5 FIRs are there. Though the NTA was supposed to supply the copy of the affidavit that has been filed by 5 o'clock with advance copy to us. I haven't received that copy, but still, one thing more important that is to be taken into consideration is that the status report that is supposed to be filed by the CBI, though the copy won't be given to us because that is a matter of investigation, and as per the criminal jurisprudence, we are not supposed to get the copy of the entire details of the investigation because the CBI is investigating and the crucial facts must be in their knowledge and the domain. But the thing is that when I'm again reiterating the fact that in 2015, when the case of this Tanvir Sarwal, which was decided on 15th June 2015, the entire facts was taken from the investigation, where it was held that the sanctity of the examination was breached, and that was the reason that on the basis of the investigation, though not on the entire investigation, but who are the leakages that happened, who are the question papers were taken into consideration while setting aside the examination, that was an issue. That was also the CBSE board examination for pre-dental entrance test examination 2015. That was all India level conducted by the CBSE. So this is a similar situation, and my case and the facts of this case is entirely covered.
So there is a previous precedent in the matter. What you're saying essentially is that there's a previous precedent in the matter, and if the court were to look at the precedent in the matter, then perhaps the next course of action should be to reconduct that examination. We are, of course, discussing the NEET-UG controversy. We now know that NTA has submitted that affidavit in court stating that it was a localized leak and it does not really meddle with the sanctity of that examination. The crucial NEET-UG examination, conversations around which refuse to die down. We'll be, of course, discussing it after this very short break. Welcome back. You're watching News9 Live. The Supreme Court has now instructed National Testing Agency to provide information on beneficiaries of the candidates who benefited from NEET-UG paper leak, and the NTA has in fact responded. The NTA says that the leak was localized. There were a very few students who were beneficiaries of that paper leak, and therefore the sanctity of that examination has not been compromised. We are, of course, discussing what happened in the court yesterday. The crucial hearing, remember, on whether there should be a re-NEET or not is scheduled for 11th of July, which is tomorrow. Let me quickly get back Kapil Gupta, founder NEET Prep, on the show. Kapil, you're hearing what's coming out of NTA's affidavit. That affidavit was supposed to be submitted as of this evening, and we are now hearing that NTA has maintained that it was a local leak. Not many students were able to get hold of that paper, and therefore the sanctity of that examination is still maintained. One need not reconduct that examination. From the very beginning that I've been speaking to you and a lot of other people, it is a difficult position to be in. On one hand, you have those 24 lakh students, all of which, or many of which, will not really want to sit for that exam again. It may be a second chance for many people, but for the rest, it's a double whammy. It's like going back to that examination, which they've already done and given, and it's done and dusted. Now reappearing for that exam, sitting through that exam, replanning their whole lives, the families' lives around that examination. It's a very difficult situation to be in.
No, absolutely it is. Anyone who's scoring above 55, the kind of environment which exists where no one knows what is going to happen next, anyone who's getting a college now would not want to write the exam again. But this is where things are. I'll tell you what I expect tomorrow. The court needs to look at what NTA says. If they go by what NTA says, obviously they're not going to conduct re-NEET, but they would also try and make an independent judgment how much of it to believe. Because the challenge is, if they say, you know what, go back, you want more time, take 15 days, look at these angles, these angles, these angles. And they might also say, we don't believe that you are going to check yourself properly. So institutional independent investigation. The time for all of that is pretty much, in my mind, it has run out. We would probably have a judgment from the court tomorrow. Either way, if they go by NTA, re-NEET doesn't happen. If they don't go by NTA, they say, you know what, we don't believe what is happening. In today's world, it is not possible that five people had a paper. It is not available with everyone else. We will go ahead and conduct the exam again. But ideal would have been identify who are the people who got in, establish the number unequivocally. There is absolutely no doubt about it. Right now, I don't think NTA enjoys a lot of credibility when they say we consider it as localized case of cheating/impersonation. We have dealt them these cases as per our established protocols. I don't think many people believe that. So it looks like curtains tomorrow. I don't think the case is going to go beyond tomorrow. It will completely come down on the judgment of the court, whether they believe what NTA is saying and whether they don't believe what NTA is saying. It just comes down on that. And they would have to make a hunch call rather than what is based on facts.
Okay, a hunch call. It's also very difficult to establish, come to think of it. Let's also quickly get back Dr. Rishiraj Sinha. Dr. Rishiraj, it is difficult to establish. Either go with what NTA is saying and, it's a fact that it's very difficult to now believe NTA with leaks on leaks, with various misconduct in lots of examinations that NTA has conducted, with redoing of examination, postponement of examination. NTA as an authority seem to have lost some credibility in the past couple of days. At the same time, for NTA to really come out with a concrete answer as to who were the beneficiaries, where all the leak happened, in a day and age where social media is extremely fast and mostly end-to-end encrypted, it's a difficult task. So for Supreme Court to decide tomorrow whether to believe NTA or whether to side with petitioners, I think it's only largely going to rest on a hunch by Supreme Court and rarely on the basis of what NTA is saying, because NTA is saying very little.
Ma'am, that's what I was saying, and also regarding other panelists also told the same thing, that if NTA is saying that the leak was localized, ma'am, not only me, nor anyone can believe that a paper is roaming on the social media app called as Telegram, and it haven't been supplied to anyone.
Okay.
It is unbelievable thing, especially when the world is leading in the social media. Everything we see first on the social media. If the paper has been roaming on the social media, that is framed as localized thing. So I don't believe that it's a localized thing. Number
All
one.
right.
Number two, if there is, again I am saying, if there is a breach of the sanctity in any part of the examination, be it a paper leak, be it a leak on the social media, on Telegram or anywhere, the government as well as the Supreme Court should reconsider for the NEET examination,
All right.
keeping in mind the life of 24 lakh students.
You
Again,
know,
I am
not
saying this
all
exam
24
is.
lakh, not all 24 lakh want to reappear for that exam. Many students that I know of personally, we have spoken to, don't want to reappear. So it's not all of them who are hoping to go through that rigmarole of sitting in the exam process once again. I've completely run out of time, but I want a quick reaction from Advocate Amar Saini. You know, you're hearing what the NTA is saying. We have parts of, that submissions from NTA in the court coming out now that we're reading out to our viewers. They're saying it's localized, Mr. Saini, but it's hard to determine. What is going to be your case tomorrow?
And also what I'm going to argue tomorrow in the Supreme Court, because the stand that has been taken by the NTA that the leakage being localized is absolutely not standing on the footings, because once the papers are on the social media, we have the proofs, and again I am saying that the FIRs in which the disclosure statements have come, wherein the accused have stated that they were having the paper at 5 a.m. in the morning on 5th of May 2024,
Right.
and the examination was to be conducted around from 2 p.m. So how can that be said that once the paper is on the social media, it is a localized case, which is absolutely not acceptable at all,
Right.
and the final verdict will be straight away from the Honorable Supreme Court, and I am hopeful that the evidences that we have are sufficient to get this exam quest from the Honorable Supreme Court.
All right, Mr. Saini. We've run out of time completely, gentlemen. All of you, thank you very much for taking time out, for joining us on this very important story. The NEET-UG examination and the controversy around it refuses to die down. It's going to be a crucial hearing in Supreme Court tomorrow, 11th of July, which will determine whether NEET examination will happen once again or not. Those 24 lakh odd students waiting and watching out for Supreme Court to either rule this way or that and start preparing for NEET-UG exam.